So, what's up, Laura? It's amazing to
Hey,
see you again.
good to see you, Holden, as usual.
Thank you. And I wanted to do some further, I guess follow-up questions, regarding the TBI life and like how it is for you, both professionally, like in like a professional sense, like living in a functional human sense too. So, yeah. So it's like I wanted to start. What do you do to gain faith in yourself?
Well, I've always had the mindset that if something is possible, then I can do it. If it's been done before, then I can do it. I just have to figure out the resources and how to make it happen. And that mindset, like I said, existed long before TBIs. The TBI, though, was, or well, ABI for me, but the brain injury was terrifying because I didn't have a point of reference to say this next step is possible or this thing that my physical therapist wants me to do is possible because I just saw it happen the other day. And so with no one to watch those steps and succeeding with new skills and abilities, I didn't know what was possible. So gaining faith in myself now, when it applies to the brain injury, comes from blind faith in myself and in the professionals I surround myself with. So if they believe that it's possible, then I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen.
I love that. So, touching on that, are you purely reliant on, like with like before you think about your self-judgment and like your personal view of it? Um, like is it all dependent on like what others are like reflecting to you on like, maybe your performance or something?
Hmm.
Or is it any other way around?
You know, uh, yeah, I think it's as it applies to the brain injury, I think it is maybe a mix of both. I think a lot of it is what people reflect to me. I suppose even though I'm 7 years in, it still feels like others understand it better than I do. The professionals understand it better than I do. And even though it's inside of me, right? And it's not in them, but I've been wanting to start a business. And my first time around, I I confronted that with the mindset that everything was going to go back to normal. That, yeah, I had this brain injury, but I'm going to go back to exactly who I was beforehand. And 2 years in, I had to stop planning for the business. It's like I am not the same person. I'm not going to be the same person. My skills and abilities have changed dramatically. So after taking years away from it, I leaned back into the idea of starting a business last year. And now I've approached it differently. And I'll say that even though I thought, okay, I think I've figured out how to do this within my limitations, and I actually even used ChatGPT a little bit. Um, I was on the Dave Ramsey show. If you're familiar with the financial guru Dave
Oh
Ramsey,
yeah.
I asked him, I said, one of my biggest limitations is I can only problem solve 2 hours a day. And after that, I cognitively decline. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm going to start getting pain, confusion. Um, and so I asked him, can I start a business working only 2 hours a day and reach over six figures like I had prior to the brain injury? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And it was that moment that I thought, okay, this is actually doable. Because before I was like just hopeful and I think maybe, but because he said it, and even though he knows nothing about brain injury or my brain injury,
Yeah.
I found the confidence that I needed to keep pushing forward, and then ChatGPT helping me understand what to look for, things that I might be missing, and how to schedule my time was incredibly helpful. So even though I'd love to say that it comes from within and I have all this confidence in myself, I still, after 7 years, turn to people outside to garner some of that confidence.
Yeah, definitely helps. I would agree with that for sure. And I mean, yeah, I think that is one of those things that is people are not exactly, like they're not innately self-confident and like especially nowadays. And like I think there's a bunch of factors that go into that, like media, like social media, and I mean social media is like probably the biggest flurry creator of the self-confidence category.
Yeah, it's a hard hit. It can be a hard hit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I honestly my age, like at being 24, it I haven't really lived a life before social media.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think when like or like electronics and stuff. So like I don't know what like real life is like before, It's
It's interesting to hear you talk about it. But I'm kind of between Generation X and millennials, and so I have I have both time frames for me. I have before computers, and then I have, now ChatGPT in my hand. And it's definitely an interesting perspective to be able to see both, and then to think that there are people that didn't have that. I don't want to say opportunity, like you guys are missing out on something, but
yeah.
definitely a different opportunity and perspective of the world. Like you said, kind of like the real world, but I think you just mean world without that direct access all the time.
Yeah. I totally agree. It is a weird thing, and I know a lot of people can. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And I don't know, it's really cool seeing. I appreciate how it's unfolding, like how can we optimize this? Like I always think about how can I make this better, or you
Agreed.
know, it's amazing that way. So
Hmm.
when it speaking of the times and the ever dwindling patience of people nowadays, including me, um like so how did you grow your sense of patience and how did you become more patient, especially after the TBI?
How do you know I became more patient?
Because you've healed
No,
so much.
no, I definitely have, and I think I yeah, I definitely have. But there's two areas where patience has changed for me, and one is within myself, and one is with others. Now, I actually prior to brain injury, I had um, very little patience for myself and a lot of patience for other people. I loved helping other people when I saw people taking a lot of time in line. I was very kind and patient. And when I wanted to achieve a goal for myself, it was go, 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 push, don't stop, make it happen. And that had to stop after brain injury. So I thought the doctors were absurd for asking me in the beginning to take breaks and rest more often. I remember thinking that is absolutely ridiculous, and I am not taking breaks because I don't need them. So I learned the hard way, and now I respect the doctor's opinions.
That's funny.
Like they've been trained for it or something. Um, but I'd say I listen to my body and rest 80 to 90% of the time when it's needed. And I've learned to be okay with that, which was definitely new for me. I did not rest before. My patience has actually shrunk with other people. And it's not out of irritability, it's that I value my time and energy more than I did before. I know that when someone doesn't understand or have the ability or desire to respect my limitations or meet me halfway, especially in relationships, they're not going to get as much of my time or patience and energy. And this applies not to just my brain injury limitations, but a broader sense of my wants and needs. I'm just not wasting time like I used to because I see life, time, and energy differently now.
I love that. That's well said. You see lifetime and energy differently now. Because that is a it's like a reformatting and or you're changing perspective of the like format of I don't know people's energy, social energy, all the things. I would agree with that. So it's
I
pretty
never
wild.
I never even thought social energy existed. I had unlimited energy before the brain injury. So when people said that socializing made them tired or, work made them tired cognitively, I'm like, that makes no sense. I definitely get it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's. I mean, this you sound pretty similar to how I was with like the social energy and stuff, like being always. I mean, I fortunately still have a ton of energy, but um, like my social energy was always like 200% basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So speaking of just the change in life and stuff. So how has your TBI changed your view of life and your how do you I guess yeah, how do you expand your or how has that expanded your view of the world, be it the people or the just environment or anything for that matter?
I really love that you asked this question because I think it really hits down to the core of what we've gone through and what it's done to us, or for us. And I think in many ways what it's done for me, but also like you, I'm a chronic optimist. And so I'm going to look for the growth and opportunity over downfalls. Um, my view of self, the brain injury stripped away any illusion that I have of unlimited time and energy, which was humbling. I see myself as resilient, but no longer invincible. And, we all go through invincibility when we're in our teens, early adulthood, but this is different. This is a different type of invincibility. This is understanding, accepting, and working with your limitations or whatever changes have taken place. And sometimes I get really frustrated with my limitations. Maybe like one day a month, I will just sit with the frustration, be mad, and let it happen. And at the same time, remind myself that I deserve some grace.
So how did you teach yourself though to um observe that feeling and how did you learn to, hold yourself for that impact?
I think I'm fortunate in the sense that uh, right out of college, I was a therapist. And mm, I had a lot of opportunities to learn about feelings and their importance, but also making sure that they're not my only identicator or identifying factor for whether something is a problem or not. For me, being able to, um, I'm so sorry, but I think my computer is going to die. Can we pause for just a moment while I
Yeah,
fix this?
yeah,
Okay.
it's all good.
Not sure why it's not working.
Uh-oh.
It is definitely going to die in a second, and I don't know why my cable's not working. My charger's not working for it.
Uh,
I am really sorry.
you could
Um,
continue this from your phone, I'm pretty sure. If you have the Zoom app,
yeah,
if you want.
definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to
You'll be able to edit, right?
oh yeah. Yeah,
Mm,
I edit all the videos and stuff.
okay.
So like I'll be able to cut out the parts that we don't want. All right. I think this is now from your phone. I can, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let me
Awesome. Yeah, sweet. Heck yeah.
and let me fix my background if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's cool.
How do I fix my background?
You can make it like blur or whatever, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to see like on your phone, where is that option?
Yeah. I haven't used Zoom much on the phone, so I don't know.
Let's maybe just continue without me fixing that. Let me put this up a little higher though.
Oh yeah. We're showing that we're quickly adaptable.
Hmm, yeah.
Or at least you are.
Yeah. Okay. How about, well, I wish it was more, oh, this might make it stable. And I can do this. No. Franchise after. Thanks for your patience here. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yeah, this is all right. Okay. What do you think? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's totally cool. As long as you like it, you know?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't have a lot of choice, so. Okay.
Adaptable.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Heck yeah. Okay. So, let me think. Um, how
We were,
has the TBI like changed like the view of the world from your perspective? And maybe you could reflect on how other people may view the world or they would imagine you see the world. Like how their perspective changes along with yours.
what I noticed from my family's perspective and my loved ones was a new, um, was a new, um, I don't know, there, I'm trying to think of the word, but they understood that there were limitations that they didn't see before in the world. So things like, and I know this is a first world problem, but at a theme park, if my family were to go with me to a theme park, I can't go without a disability pass. I would never make it. I have to check in with first aid at the beginning of the day to let them know that by the time that I get to them in the afternoon when I really need to rest, there's a chance I may not be able to communicate. Because I can't communicate, they need to know what's going on with me before I get there. Um, that I keep a card on me that has information and my emergency contact because when things get that bad and I can't communicate, there's a chance I don't even remember my own name. Like I want to communicate, I have words, I just can't figure out how to use them correctly. So I think from my family's perspective, they've realized there's a whole new world of obstacles that didn't exist before. Um, Ones that we all took for granted beforehand, and valuing how our community and our society has attempted to care for. invisible disabilities and disabilities all around. For myself, my view on the world, it's embarrassing to share that what has really changed is my empathy for invisible disabilities. Before, I had a very judgmental outlook and thought that people that couldn't reach goals just weren't trying hard enough, or that, I was dismissing invisible disabilities as excuses and laziness. And it's really embarrassing to say that. Um, I now understand that that mindset was very cruel and ignorant. And I have a much greater appreciation for people with invisible disabilities.
Yeah, I love that. It's good to have like an expanded perspective of like, and be able to remember how you used to look at like, how you might have judged the disabled people. Because now it's like, well, here we are, we're disabled, we're
Yeah.
handicapped. And yes, there are, yeah, I don't know, it's a lot. I was gonna make a joke about at least we have handicap parking, so at least we'll get in the store first.
Yeah, it's no, it's true. And I actually, along those same lines, when I first got handicap parking, because I don't always need it, and when I don't need it, I don't use it. But I think I had it for, gosh, maybe 4 months before I used it, and I was causing myself a lot of additional pain that was unnecessary, or taking away my abilities to do things for the day unnecessarily, because all I needed to do was park closer, and it would help me through my day. But I remember reading this article, a young girl, I think in her early 20s, and you with going on.
So sorry, could you repeat that?
And yeah, yes, the story from the beginning.
Yeah, because we were cutting out and stuff.
Okay. So along the same lines, when you mentioned the handicap parking, it took me about 4 months of having it before I was able to use it. And even then, the anxiety that came from using handicap parking with an invisible disability was strong. Oh, I should probably start one more time. I got a call that interrupted.
Uh,
Sorry.
okay.
All right, last time.
All right, yep, this is it.
Yeah. When I first had my handicap parking, it took me about 4 months before I was able to use it. And it was out of not embarrassment, but because I had judged people that had invisible disabilities, I was sure that other people were judging. And it reminded me of this story that I read. There was a young woman in her early 20s, I believe, with invisible disability and handicap parking. And she talked about her struggle with using it as well. But then she got to a point where she was confronted one time by someone about using it and how she didn't need it. And she goes into an explanation for this person on why she does need it, but then she follows up by saying, I'm not your performing monkey. And I don't have to prove to you or anybody else why I need this. That's between me and my physician. But those words, I'm not your performing monkey, have stuck in my head for so long, ever since I read that. And there are still times, I mean, we're so many years into me using handicap parking, but there are still times that I'll park and I get those feelings and I have to get out of the car saying to myself, I'm not a performing monkey. I'm not a performing monkey. I'm not a performing monkey. Um,
Yeah,
because I know what my view of the world was prior to brain injury. And it was very judgmental towards invisible disabilities.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't love being the like, the fact that you're disabled and stuff, obviously. But like I love that like you are how you have that awareness and stuff, and like you can kind of, when you say you can like sympathize with yourself essentially,
Yeah.
is I
Um,
think big.
yeah, I have a stronger ability to give myself grace and to give others grace and empathize with situations. Um, Recognizing that I can't remember the percentage, but I think it's maybe 60, 70% of people are walking around with invisible disabilities. Um,
Sounds right.
and that's an outstanding percentage. Um, and to not know what all of those people have going on, and then to think about what I have going on, that grace has expanded immensely.
Yeah, I love that. It's yeah, it's it really expands your perspective and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can you, because I think your, you could say like your expansion of your perspective, or the expansion of your perspective bleeds into other people. And
That's so right.
so that's like probably the best part. And it's the most necessary part.
You're so right. Our family members and our loved ones and our friends, if they hadn't encountered this before, they now have an understanding and the ability to give grace um, to people with invisible disabilities.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that question. And so since we're just gonna be doing, we're making these like smaller episodes too right now. Um, I wanted to ask this. I want to make this video like more useful too. Like also like not just inspire and like give people that, somebody to relate to, but like what advice would you have for others that that may have gotten injured, or they may just be normal people with normal struggles, like daily struggles and stuff. How can you or what advice do you have for all of these individuals?
I'm really fortunate in the sense that I had time as a therapist, um, specifically in this regard. I've done a lot of stress management courses, seminars for adults and youth. Um, Stress is an important part of life. It tells us where we need to attend to, and stress is vital to our survival. So accepting that, I think, is a big portion of being able to manage it. Um, when feeling irritable, it's important to first give yourself grace. And I think by the way you do that is by noticing and labeling stress or irritability. Once you've named it, you can do something about it. And again, it's an important thing to have happen because it tells you where you need to focus or attend to something. So it's not the idea isn't to eliminate irritability, it's to acknowledge it and understand why it's there. So if you notice it, you name it, then you can take the steps to get your body in a space to take proper action. And that's when irritability may or may not be as useful. So taking the time before speaking or acting when something feels maybe irrational is really important. Stepping away from the problem so that you can address it more calmly and effectively. Um, there's two there's two strategies that I really love, both grounding strategies. And they're really simple because you can do them from almost anywhere and they take little to no skill at all. Um, the first one is an ice holding technique. And this works not only for those moments where you just feel irritable, but also when you feel out of control, when a panic attack takes on. And if you've ever had panic attacks, you can understand how overwhelming they can be and sometimes even feeling outside of your body. There's a lot of loss of control. And so the ice holding technique is simply getting a piece of ice, putting it into your hand, and holding it there until you can think of nothing other than that piece of ice. There's a neurological process that happens when you put that ice in your hand. It's a survival technique for your body. It has to address the ice. That's the primary stressor in your life at that moment. So instead of your brain thinking about how that person cut you off or how a family member was disrespectful, rude, or um, even something more severe like a trauma that came up, instead of allowing that to take over, instead of your brain focusing on that, your brain has to focus on the ice. And so it takes no skill to just hold on to a piece of ice. And
Yeah,
it's incredibly effective. I love that one.
I love that. Thank you for that one. That
Yeah.
was really good. That's like a it- kind of, I mean, like I was saying, similar to meditation, like just finding it's like focusing on your breath. Like your breath is the one thing that's always going, and you always have the ability to latch on to that thought or
Yeah.
thinking along those the ins and the outs and everything. I I think it's really useful to share advice. So I thank you for
Yeah.
that. And
And and and it's a step beyond because breathing is, I mean, the research that goes behind effective breathing and why it works is it's outstanding. But I think this technique goes beyond breathing because sometimes breathing is not easily accessible to the brain when, especially in like a panic attack. It,
yeah.
so when you have little to no control, this is an option that you don't have to put the effort into. It just happens as you hold it. And the other skill that I wanted to mention is a five senses skill, and I've seen this come about over the last decade or so. There's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 version of it, and that's not my favorite because especially when you're really stressed out, I think that that takes a little bit more effort. But my version it's not my version, but what I learned decades ago in regards to the senses grounding activity was to fall into your space. So this is if you're at an airport and the plane has been delayed by 10 hours and you have no idea what you're going to do, or you forgot your medication, whatever it is that's stressing you out, big or small, and where no matter where you're at, even if you're driving, you can do this activity. And it's going through your five senses and describing to yourself how that sense is pulling information. So if I'm driving and traffic is horrible and I'm feeling so irritable, one of the things that I can focus on are those senses. So I'm going to say, okay, well, what can I feel? Well, I feel the leather in my hands from the steering wheel. It's not warm, it's not cold, it's a neutral temperature. I can feel this little speck on the back with my finger. What is that? I I can feel the ridges beneath some of where the wheel fabric comes together. Okay, so I've gone through my feelings. What do I smell? I start to smell. I'm like, well, I smell that perfume I put on earlier today. I smell that food that I forgot to throw away in the back seat. Or so you go through each of your senses, and you're not defining any of the things as good or bad. Just what are they? And it's a great way to ground your body into the moment and distract yourself so that your fight or flight response can really decrease.
I love the not like just like observing the things and like non-judgmentally,
That's right.
which like I was saying before is a very difficult thing for everybody, especially nowadays with everything and like the knowledge of everything going on with phones and everything, social media, all the nonsense. Like what this is on YouTube. So yeah, I'm guilty. I'm a guilty promoter of that. Um, but
This is something, Holden, and I know that you joke, but what you do as a person, for the world around you and what you're doing using YouTube as a platform to connect with the world around you is something that makes it a better place. And as much chaos as there is that you talk about, or the opposite of us, the chronic pessimist, um, you're bringing something beautiful and bright into the world, and using tools to do that in a really wide scale way. That's admirable.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's honestly, that warms my heart.
Happy.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's like in a sense, there's no point to being here in this life if you're not gonna optimize it for you and others, especially others, because that's who you interact with every single day, or who depicts all these things. And yeah, like I think a more collectiveness or collective awareness of um selflessness and you know um yeah, selflessness could be a huge piece. Well, it is a huge piece to helping the whole world, which is so inspirational, honest, or inspiring, you'd say. Because, like I am confident that the world is coming close. Like we're on the cusp of such a grand realization, and like our sympathy, our empathy, our sense of selflessness and sense of self even is it's only growing freaking exponentially. Just I mean it's just like the rise of AI and everything, because that grew so exponentially and so quickly that it was really unfathomable or fathomable. And you know like I think that's what's gonna happen with just like the self-awareness and the respect for others, and the collective consciousness, everything.
You're right, and it's an interesting and unique perspective, even though it makes so much sense. Um, and in a time of so much segregation, it's beautiful to think of how we are not segregated and how we are coming together. Um, yeah, I was worded really beautifully.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, I really appreciate this was a fun episode, I think.
It was.
A
It
cool
definitely.
little I don't know, just like a common current day recap and stuff. Some realistic real life problems for everyone, which are cool. And then we can obviously, we teetered in some brain injury stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that. So thank you so much, Laura.
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna
Cole.
end the recording. Yeah. So peace out, Laura.
Bye, Holden.